All right, welcome back, students. In this video, we're going to cover lesson 11-3. Hopefully, you guys are paying attention. So if you finished 11-1, you're looking for 11-2. There isn't one. So you didn't miss anything. Hopefully, everybody sees that there's no notes for 11-2, but I have had that happen. So no 11-2, we're at 11-3, talking about areas of circles and sectors. So GR 4.4 and 6.4. This is solve problems involving the area of circles and sectors and problems involving the area of a circle. So on the reference sheet, area of a circle, pi r squared. R, of course, is the radius. You know, the diameter is 2 times the radius. And, of course, D is the diameter. Area of a sector. So that's going to be whatever the sector degrees is over 360. So like if this was 90, it'd be 90 over 360 times pi r squared. Or you can just find the whole area and then multiply it by this. Sometimes it'll tell you the arc. I'll show you down here. So first part's this. It actually a pretty quick lesson. So we got example 1. I'll do that one. 2, I'll do the check as you guys, and then we got a little bit on the back. So it's a pretty quick lesson. So example 1. Kean is building a circular patio in his backyard. Part A, what is the area of the patio to the nearest square foot? Okay, so there's the diameter of this guy is 24 feet. So, so part A, area. So we're going to go over here. Area is going to be pi r squared. So if the diameter is 24, we know the radius is half of that. So radius is 12. Let me just scoot down a little bit. There we go. Actually, just move it. Okay. So area equals pi r squared. The radius is 12 squared. So that's going to be 12 squared is 144 pi. And quick calculator lesson. So as I told you guys, and for anybody else tuning in, same thing goes for you. Unless the problem says pi equals 3.14, unless it says that, and for what we do, typically Alex does a couple of times, and there might be one time in McGraw-Hill. The rest of the time, when it says pi, that's pi. That button right there. Watch when I hit that button. 3.141592654. You know, it keeps going on and on. So that's pi. Now watch. So 12 squared. Lesson again. Squared is that button. So 144 times pi. Remember, pi is 3.141592654. So that's not the answer. You got to hit equals. So 452.38. We're gonna, let's see, I guess say nearest square foot. So in this case, now typically we round down. Let me think. Yeah, in this case, because we're gonna be figuring part B is gonna be how much. You always go over. So the problem, I think we have one in the next lesson. I can't remember. We've had it before, but when it asked you, how much mulch, if it's 2.77 bags, that's 3, because you can't buy a 0.77 bag. You can't buy a 0.01. If it's sugar, say it's a cup of sugar and a teaspoon. Well, you'd need, if you had to buy them in cups, it'd be 3 cups, because you can't just get a teaspoon of sugar. So 452.38, we're going to round that up and say 453 feet squared. Okay, so that's the area. All right, so part B, cost. So it's to purchase these paving stones. So they're $135 per square yard. So yard squared. About how much is he going to need to spend? Okay, so here's the deal. We have this in square feet. this is in square yards, so we've got to convert. So 1 yard equals 3 feet, right? All right, so 1 yard squared is going to equal 3 squared feet, or 3 feet, or 3 squared, which is 9 feet squared. So we squared both of these. You squared 1, which is still 1, to make it yards squared. You squared 3 to make it 9, but feet squared. So 9 square feet is 1 square yard. So what we have to do is divide this by 9, so it'll tell us how many feet. So area yards. So it was 453. We're dividing that by 9. 453 divided by 9. So 50.33. All right, so your cost is going to be 50.33. That's yards squared times per yard is going to be $135. I know we use X, but this is multiplying by 100. So 50.33 times $135 is $67.95. All right, so cost approximately $67.95. Let me try to clean this up here. This is, yards. Okay. So we had to convert this from feet squared to yards squared. So we could, because that's how much they're selling it by. And then we multiplied our yard squared by our how much per yard, and that's how we got that. Okay, hopefully you understand. If not, do let me know. Example 2 at the bottom. Find the diameter. And over here, you guys are going to also find the diameter. It's going to work the same way. Mine already has pi in the answer. Yours doesn't. You're just going to divide by pi. If you're listening, shouldn't be a problem. So the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared, right? Okay, well, they tell us that our area is 196 pi. But that still equals pi r squared, because this is the area and this is the area. So now we're trying to find the radius. So remember, the diameter is 2 times the radius. So when we find the radius, then we're going to multiply it by 2 and give them the answer. So the first thing we're going to do, we see we got pi on both sides. So let's just eat the pi. Let's take those. They both cancel. We bring it down and we have 196 equals radius squared. Now we're getting somewhere. Here's put our calculator over here. So we got 196. So we need the square root because we want radius, not radius squared. So remember, we hit this button. This is the one we don't have to hit enter. We just hit our equals. We just hit the button. So the square root of 196 is 14. So the diameter is 2 of that. So diameter is 2 times 14. So the diameter is 28, and these are yards. Since it was yards squared for the area, that means that the diameter would just be yards. You guys are going to do the same thing over here. Area equals pi r squared. I'll help you out by saying here's your 915 that equals pi r squared. Solve for r. The diameter equals 2 times the radius. They want the diameter. So there you go. Should be easy peasy. Okay. We got 4 problems on the back. The you do, the I do for these guys, and the you do for these guys. And I'll help you out a little bit. So, talking about the arc here. So we're going to find the whole area. I'm just going to, some things I like to teach. So, circle's 360 degrees. So they tell us that Malaya, she's playing a game where she tracks her progress using sectors of a circle. And circular game piece. The game piece has a diameter of 3.5 centimeters. So if the diameter is 3.5, the radius is half of that, which is 1.75. So we'll put that over here. we're going to find to the nearest hundredth, so that works. That's hundredths. And it's divided into 6 congruent sectors. So that means we're going to find the whole thing and then divide by 6 to get the one sector. So over here, the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. The radius is 1.75. Okay. 1.75 squared is 3.06 pi. Remember, pi is 3.141592654. So this is our whole area. I mean, our whole circular game piece is 9.62. All right, well, we're going to divide by 6 because it was 6 congruent sectors. So, sector, so it's 9.62 divided by 6. So we got 1.60, and nearest hundredth we wouldn't round up the 0.3. That's 1.60. So area for this sector is 1.60. What was the centimeters squared? So the whole thing, the whole circle is 9.62, and then each of those 6 is all 1.6. And when you round it out, or when you multiply it out, you'll see over here. So he's painting the clock. The diameter's 3. I'm going to help you out. Diameter's 3. What's the radius? Half of that? 1.5. Easy stuff. What is the area of the sector of each sector to the nearest hundredth? All right, so how many sectors? Well, it's a clock. How many numbers are on the clock? 12. So 12 sectors. So you're going to find the area. And then you're going to divide by 12. So then your sector will be whatever this is divided by 12. Should be easy peasy. All right, example 4. One sector of a circle has an area of 42 square feet and the arc measurement of 45 degrees. Find the area of the circle. All right, so this case we're starting out 45 is like this. And they're saying that this area equals 62 feet squared, and that it's 45 degrees of the whole circle, 360. Oops. Now, you use a calculator, which we will. I do want to point out, so we could also break this down. I know 45 goes into itself one time, and it goes into 360 8 times, so it's 1/8. You would basically just multiply 62 by 8. But let's just see. Let me just prove. So 45 divided by 360 is going to be 0.125. Notice that 1 divided by 8, same thing. So yeah, you would actually go 62 and you would divide by that to get the total, but or you can just say, so 62, that was our sector, and the whole thing, that's only 1/8 of it, so multiply it by 8. And say that's 1/8 or 0.125. So if one sector is 62, the circle is 62 times 8, which is 496 square feet. All right, over here, so here's your sector. It's 36 over 360. Remember, the whole circle's 360. So either take the decimal, divide 121 by that decimal, or if you know the fraction, 1 over whatever, multiply this by the denominator. But that's that. Here's your, so we're talking about so there's your help. All right, bottom here, real quick, finishing up. How is the formula area of the circle related to the formula for circumference of the circle? So it's related because, circumference is the denominator, the diameter times pi, or 2 times the radius times pi, and that gives you the circumference, where the area is pi times the radius squared, and that gives you the area inside there. So both use pi because pi has to do with how the way the circle works, and you need this to figure out how long it is, and you need this squared to figure out how thick it is, or how much area. If you have any other questions, please let me know. If you guys are in another class, please consider subscribing. I know we're almost done, but you will get new videos. I'm probably going to put some stuff out during the EOC review. I know this is not entertaining. There's YouTube videos and TikToks and all that other good stuff that's much more entertaining than this. But if you're trying to pass, hang with me. I promise I can teach you enough to pass the EOC, and I'd love to see a ton of you guys pass, my students, everybody, and, be able to come by and say, hey, thanks, Mr. Whitlock, I listened to the videos. I do this for you guys. Anyway, have a good night. I will continue probably starting tomorrow night because it's already getting late.